Lights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we ride strong and proud. Running up to score, Kings never back down. If you don't like that, this ain't your town.
All right, the Kings in an absolute laugher. It was an embarrassment if you're a fan of the Jazz. 141-97. Now the Kings are one game under 500 with several days off, and their next game is at New Orleans. So nothing bad in this game. 141-97. This game was over at halftime.
For the third time this season, Napes, the Kings have a 2-game winning streak.
How about that, huh? How about that?
How about that?
And it really needs to be at least 3 when they go play Denver at home because but first things first. I mean, you know what's fun about this game? The game is completely over when the bench comes in and plays, and they can be relaxed and they can get into a groove. And it was like a scrimmage out there in this game. That's how efficient the Kings offense was. It was like they were playing 5-on-4 the whole night.
Yeah, you know, something that we've called for, and I know that the Jazz were terrible tonight, but we've called for the Kings to not let off the gas, put the pedal to the floor, and that's exactly what they did in the third quarter. They didn't screw around, just what you said. It was efficient. They were running their plays. They were on it, and game's over by the time the fourth quarter starts.
Well, the game was over at halftime, in my opinion, but yes, it was definitely over. It was definitely over in the fourth quarter.
Mike Brown could have pulled the starters at the beginning of the fourth. After De'Aaron hits that 3 to end the third.
Absolutely.
Done.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. And, you know, I'm fine with the minutes tonight. That was not an issue. I mean, Fox had 31, which was the high, but everyone else was in the 20s. So I'm fine with that because you have a ton of time off now.
Yeah, 100% agree. And Grant, something that Jerry Reynolds talked about a long time. He said Kevin Huerter was good coming off the bench in Atlanta. He thought Kevin would have some more confidence coming off the bench here. And it's a couple games in a row we're seeing it, Names.
Yeah. And that's huge because the bench has been the weakest part of this team. And this is exactly what Sacramento needs. They need a guy to make shots coming off the bench. And hopefully this is going to be the start of something good for Kevin Huerter.
Yeah, totally agree. Grant, the bench is an awesome bench now. You Doug McDermott, we're fixed. We're good. Shut it down. God. Monty McNair, GM of the year, baby.
Oh my God. And the other thing about tonight is you have the Lakers are up 10 in the fourth over Portland. San Antonio won, so they're still in 11th. The Kings still are in 12th. Golden State beat Minnesota. The Rockets won, Memphis won, and how about Phoenix? They lose at Orlando 115-110. So, you know, again, you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Hey, one bite at a time, and they took care of it tonight. You get a little bit of rest. They got an off day tomorrow. You have some practice time. You go to New Orleans, and really, how better to roll into New Orleans, a team that beat you 6 times last year, coming off a game like this. You got to feel good, Grant.
And no Brandon Ingram. He's going to be out. I'm hearing anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 weeks. He has a high ankle sprain that is not good. And there's some thoughts that he may have played his last game for New Orleans because he's going to be one of the guys that is definitely going to be on the trade deadline in February. No doubt, or be on the trade talk. All right, he was all summer, but there's a lot of feeling that he won't play another game for New Orleans.
Well, why would you if you're New Orleans?
I know.
You know, it makes all the sense in the world. And the question becomes, what's his value if he can heal up, right?
Yeah. Well, it's been the story of his whole career. You know, he had missed 5 games and had just come back. That's why I said all season I would not go after Brandon Ingram. He gets hurt too much. He averages less than 60 games a year. Why would you want to spend that kind of money on a guy that misses over a quarter of the season every year?
Well, it's a team that needs something off the bench. You don't bring Brandon Ingram in to be a starter if you're a contender right now, like a Denver, for instance, Grant.
Yeah, well, he'd be great for Denver.
That's what you do. They're missing that firepower.
Yeah.
You
But he'd
get a
only be great.
rental.
He'd only be great if he's in uniform and he's able to participate.
Spot on. That's why you got to worry about that. That's a long ankle. He is a tall man. So you don't know how he's going to bounce back from that. So I want to ask you about this. We go in sample sizes, okay? And I'm
Yep.
going to exclude the statistics from tonight because one, they're not all the way updated, and two, they're a little bit of an outlier. But we now have a 5-game sample size of Malik Monk starting with this team. The Kings have gone 3-2, okay? And I'm going to give you their numbers through 4 of those games with Malik starting. So, first off, their net rating with Malik starting 7.3 versus a 0.4 for all the games leading up to Malik starting. Assists are up 5, okay? Turnovers are down 3.4 per game. 3-point percentage is up 5%. And here's the kicker: field goal attempts are up 8 per game, meaning the pace is a
You
little.
know, I like the numbers. The numbers are good, but you played San Antonio. Victor Wembanyama and Zach Collins only played 8 minutes after getting kicked out. You played a team tonight that has only 5 wins. Okay, so yeah, I like the numbers, but they're skewed a little bit due to the teams you played and who was on the floor and who wasn't. Memphis really good. Houston very good. Who was the team before Houston that they lost to?
San Antonio.
No, they lost to San Antonio at home before Houston, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, listen, I like Monk in the starting lineup. We've talked about that for over a year now. Jerry has been talking about this for over a year. I like Malik Monk in the starting lineup. But I really like if Kevin Huerter can provide a punch off
Sure.
the bench like he has in the last 2 games, then that makes the move look even better because you have a revived Huerter who was not playing well as a starter. And now you have a bench that, you almost have a replacement. I say almost have a replacement for Monk on the bench. And now you have Monk starting. So I like it. I like it a lot.
Kevin Huerter had the pass of the year, by the way, tonight. That pass that he shot from the corner to the other corner was incredible to Domas. Domas hits the 3. So here's my question then. So the stats I gave you did not include the stats from tonight. So
okay.
that was only through 4 games, but
Okay.
that's a 5-game sample size.
That's a good sample size.
So what grade do you give the Kings for that 5-grade sample size with Malik Monk starting?
Probably a B+.
B+. Had a chance to win in New Orleans. You let one go at in Memphis, excuse me. You let one go at home against San Antonio.
I don't know if you let one go. I mean, the Spurs beat you twice with Victor Wembanyama on the floor. They killed you in San Antonio, and then they beat you at home. So I don't know if I would say you let that one go. I mean, the Spurs, when they have Wembanyama on the floor, have been a formidable matchup for Sacramento.
Yeah, they've been up and down for everybody in the NBA. It depends on what Wemby's doing.
But I like Monk in the starting lineup. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and, refute your numbers and say I don't like it. I do like it. All right, so I gave him a B+. What are you giving them?
Yeah, I think I'm right around a B plus too. Finishing, I want to see the turnovers still come down, but it all comes down to what you just said. It's the Kevin Huerter factor. It's the Keon Ellis factor. Keon Ellis continues to shoot the 3 ball at a very good clip, especially from the corners. And that's where he's getting. That's a Mike Brown thing. So if those 2 things continue, and here's the other thing, Grant, Mike Brown is staggering the starter rotation. You're not seeing the starters out there together as much, beginning, 3rd quarter, and then end of the game if it's close. But he's not throwing wholesale substitutions or putting 2 guys, 3 guys on the bench at a time.
Yeah. Hey, I want to tell you about Sunrise Landing from Blazona Development, Calusa's newest residential community. Beautiful models to choose from, 6 in all. Remember, no Mellorews, no homeowners when you check out Calusa Sunrise. I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20, good access, adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Go to CalusaSunrise.com. You'll get all the information you need on Sunrise Landing in Calusa. Kings in a laugher tonight, in an absolute rout over the Utah Jazz. I'll tell you, over 82 games, you're going to have games on both sides of this. You're going to have games like this where you're the winning team, and you're going to have nights where you're on the back end of these type of games. And they're great to have when you're on this side because there's no stress. Everyone plays, and everyone plays a lot of minutes. These are great games. They're few and far between in the NBA. They're few and far between, but when they happen, you're like, oh, Denver had one tonight. Denver is coming off a horrible loss, right, against Washington, who had lost 16 games in a row. And they just did the same thing to Atlanta tonight in Atlanta. So, it happens. The final there was 141 to 111, Denver over Atlanta. And, again, that's the NBA. You just lost to a team that had a 16-game losing streak, right? Think about that. And then you go and you beat the doors off Atlanta, who had been playing well.
What about Utah? They scored 140, was it 140 or 141?
I think.
Yeah, against Portland just 2 nights ago, and now they're on the back end of this one tonight.
It's the NBA. It's the NBA. And, the Kings are going to have nights where they're going to lose by 20 or 30, and we're going to be sitting there going, oh, my God. It happens.
It happens. But it's not happening as much with this team this year. You have to give them credit for that. We saw it a hell of a lot more last year.
Yep. So 141 to 97. Again, I don't really see any negatives at all. Everyone got to play. There was no stress. It was a laugher. This game really was like a scrimmage in the second half. After the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, it was really like a scrimmage. All right, let me update you the standings here, okay? So Denver with their – go ahead.
Can I give you a negative? I do have one. Straight line drives, still a problem. Colin Sexton, top of the key, right to the hoop. John Collins. Other than that.
All right, Oklahoma City, Memphis, Houston, and Dallas are the top 4 teams. Houston and Dallas have the identical records at 16-8. Golden State won, they're 14-9. The Clippers, they lose, they're 14-11. Denver wins, they're 12-10. Minnesota loses, they're 12-11, as is Phoenix and the Lakers. The Spurs win, they're 12-12. The Kings win, they're 12-13, and 12th in the West. So those are your updated standings in the Western Conference.
You notice how the net ratings in the West are starting to kind of even out as we get closer to that 25, 26, 30 game sample size.
Yes.
Now you've got everybody in the positive that's currently in the playoffs, and then your play-ins are both negatives. -9 or 0.9 for Phoenix and -4.2 for Los Angeles.
Well, and again, that -4.2 was the 2 games on the road that they got just embarrassed by. At Minnesota, they lost by like 30 plus, and then at Miami they lost by 40 or whatever. So that's going to affect that a lot. But you're right, they are starting to become true to form now, and we look at that. The sample size is good enough. I think of all the teams, because I know Phoenix when Durant's on the floor is good. Okay, when Durant's not on the floor, they're terrible. So that as goes Kevin Durant goes the Suns.
Yep.
The team to me is that there are 2 teams I want to keep an eye on here for the rest of this month in particular. Denver and the Lakers, and you're going to see them play. You're going to play those teams 3 times in a row. Denver at home, Lakers at home, Lakers at home, right?
Yep.
Will the Lakers have found themselves by then? Will the Lakers have their bad streak out of them? Will Reeves be back, who they have missed greatly? All right. I didn't even know if he played tonight. I didn't look at the box score. I was watching football and I'm following the Kings and everything else. Let me look at the box score. Well, the game's not even over yet. So the Lakers actually will improve on the number that I just said. They're up 107-87. Boy, what a bad stretch this is for Portland, who the Kings just lost to last week. I mean, again, it's the NBA, right? It's just crazy. But so they started Davis, Hachimura, Vincent, Christie, and Dalton Connect. And nope. So they're still without Reeves.
And
so
he creates for them. He's a significant part of what they do. He takes that off of LeBron's plate from time to time because D'Angelo, he's just shooter. He ain't creating much.
No, he doesn't do anything other than shoot. And if he's not making shots, he kills you in his attitude and everything else. So all right, so those standings are going to look a little different. The Lakers are actually going to be 13-11. Okay, and they're going to move up past Phoenix and Minnesota, okay, and they'll be right behind Denver. So the Lakers will win and they'll go to 13-11, which will drop Minnesota and Phoenix to 9th and 10th respectively.
Yep. I'm going to also throw into the group that you're talking about that we're going to watch this next month, the Clippers. What are the Clippers going to do? Because it seems like they are also very up and down. They've been dealing with some injuries as well. I'm not sold on them. You haven't seen them with Kawhi Leonard yet, but defensively, They're in it. Jeff Van Gundy has them playing very good defense. The offense, though, that is the wild card.
Well,
If you want to talk about another team, Grant, that's playing a bunch of young guys, borderline G League guys, it's the Clippers.
well, they beat the Kings twice this year.
I know. They certainly have.
I mean, and Jeff Van Gundy defensively has made a difference, as you point out.
Huge
But
difference.
so if, and again, I keep on saying if, I don't know, if they get Kawhi Leonard back, that's only going to make them better. I don't know how much better, but it's going to make them better, right?
Yeah, but if they get, for how long do they get
That's my
Kawhi
point.
Leonard back? Yeah. You know, it's hard to say. And to give some positive side to the net rating conversation we were having a second ago, how it's shaking out, everybody below the play-in except the Kings is a negative. The Kings are
That's
at plus 3.2. Everybody else heavily in the negative outside of San Antonio.
Yep. Hey, I want to tell you about New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. They're available around the clock 24/7. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. That's New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. Again, 916-713-1010 or sackserviceplumbing.com. That's New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. And don't forget, I need a rant with Grant coming up in just a couple of moments right here on the Kings postgame show.
Grant, I got to say, this John Collins guy, a lot of people have said, I don't think he would really work here. He has looked really good in the last 3-4 outings against the Kings.
Every time I see him, I always go, wow, this guy's good. Every time. And I don't watch him play a lot in person, but at the games that I did, especially in Atlanta, I'm like, this guy can play, right? He's one of those players when you leave the game, you're like, okay, he's really good. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And he's sneaky creative. He can create his own shot very easily. He's changed his body a little bit. Very impressed with what he's doing on a bad team. And Larry Marketing, what's going on with him? Physically,
yeah, he was questionable with the game with a back. He didn't look right to me tonight. He was minus 25. He was horrible in 25 minutes. 2 of 9, missed all 4. He's a guy that to me, I could see, Danny Ainge has got a lot of stock to work with here coming up in the near future.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they move forward without Larry Marketing. He would get you quite a bit in return, but I just wonder if he's in the long-term plans for the Utah Jazz. Appreciate the super chat donation. Any recommendations for an in-depth NBA podcast or channel? Ryno?
In-depth NBA. Well, it depends what you're looking for in-depth. Bobby Marks does a really good job of encompassing everything that comes to the front office and the back end in terms of transactions and player movement. In terms of Grant, I'll be honest, I don't listen to other people's stuff. I want to form my own opinions. So can't help you there. Grant, you got anybody?
No, I don't listen to NBA podcasts at all, so I could not.
Yeah.
I wish I could. Thank you for the donation. We appreciate it. I wish we could steer you in the right direction. Maybe somebody on our stream can help on the chat line, but I don't. I don't listen to NBA podcasts.
Yeah, Zach Lowe's pretty popular. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, we're not going to do that. Don, if you want to come on the show, flip your camera on for me, buddy. If that's Don from the chat, love to talk to you here, but flip your camera on. Also, with the Kings and marketing, I know there was this big market for him. Everybody thought he'd fit in here. I just don't see Utah moving him, Grant. He just got the massive extension. If you have a piece to build around, don't you think it's kind of him?
I do, yes. I do.
He can do a little bit of everything. And granted, we need to give Keegan Murray some credit. He played him really well.
He played him great. He played him tough.
He was denying the ball to him, which is not an easy thing to do, especially when he's longer.
All right. Okay. Donald says the camera is denying me access.
All right, Donald. I trust Donald. Donald, what's up, dude?
What's up, Ryan? How you doing?
Good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, good to say. Nice jacket, Ryan. I love your jacket.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
For free. I'm not here to troll. Trust me.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm here to talk about Keegan Murray. He only took 5 shots tonight in 25 minutes, and the Kings scored 140 points. I'm thinking it's a good thing to the coach, maybe for Keegan's role to be diminished. You know, with the rest of the starters. I'm thinking that his role on offense should be like the fifth option on the team.
I don't disagree with that. I think with the way he's been shooting the ball, particularly from three, less would be more, in my opinion. So I'm with you. I'm okay. When you have Fox, Sabonis, Monk, and now even, when you talk about DeRozan, obviously, but when you have Herter contributing off the bench the way he has the last couple of games, you don't need Keegan Murray's offense. His defense is just outstanding. So there's some validity to your point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Don, the other thing I would say, I mean, you're here every show, you're watching every game. It seems like although the three ball's not fallen, there's been some improvement with Keegan's game inside the lane and a little bit of shot creation from the mid-range, especially in times where the Kings have the shot clock running down. So slowly keep an eye on that because that's a little thing that he can contribute here and there as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. He hit I think he just hit one three-pointer, and his other two buckets were inside the paint.
Yep.
So yeah, it seems like when he drives to the paint with authority and he actually gets that shot up and he's comfortable with it and takes his time, then he can make that little floater. But yeah.
It's almost like, and Grant, I know this is speculation, but everybody's like, what's wrong with Keegan? It's almost like it's when he's not thinking. It's natural. It's smooth. It's butter.
Yeah.
Right, Don?
Oh, yeah. Smooth as butter. I mean, they're going to start calling him Mr. Smooth. But that's all basically I had to say about Keegan. Just light the beam.
Yes sir.
Take it easy.
Thanks, Don.
All right. Bye.
Forgive me for being a Debbie Downer here. This game means nothing to me. The Spurs game meant nothing to me in terms of other than they won. Like, I don't really read too much into it. You should have beat the Spurs the way you did based on the lineup on the floor. And you should have maybe not win by 44 points tonight or whatever the hell it was. Maybe you don't win but you should have won this game easily. You're playing an inferior team. And I like the fact that now there's 2 games in a row that the Kings should have just completely shellacked the other team. And they did. So I look at that as a positive. But in terms of all the other stuff, I take very little out of games like this. I really do. I want to see now when you play Denver coming up next week and the Lakers in 2 games. I want to see if you can play this way against Nikola Jokic, against Jamal Murray, against Westbrook. I want to see if you can play this way when you get LeBron and Anthony Davis in the building, even though they're struggling right now. That's what I'm going to measure this team more of. I'm not going to measure this team on a Spurs without Wembanyama and without Zach Collins and a 5-win Jazz team.
Okay,
I'm going to judge this team a lot more next week.
Hold up, Napes. The Kings did, all intents and purposes, exactly what you're saying. Now, it didn't turn out their way in Memphis, but they played really well. Their best game of the season against Houston, right? They took care of a team that's better than them on their home court where they struggle. They went on the road to Memphis. They were the better team.
The bench didn't play well against Memphis, and they shot the ball terribly.
Okay, but they were the better team for 40 of 48 minutes in that game in Memphis. And now you have 2 games where they blew the wheels off both teams that they should have, as you said. So I'm sorry, what's there not to take out of that? They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
Yes, but okay. Can you do this when you play the teams that are coming up? Can you do this when you're playing the Bostons, when you're playing Cleveland's, when you're playing Oklahoma City, when you're playing those teams? Can you play this way against that type of competition? Can you do that?
Okay. Right? I see you don't have Memphis, you don't have Houston up on that level yet. You've got them
Not
just a
yet.
little bit below.
I can't put Houston on that level. I just can't. Okay. And maybe I'm still not a complete believer in them. I think they're a playoff team, but are they really a top 4 team in the West? I mean, that would be an amazing jump to make. Now, it can happen. We saw Oklahoma City do it last year. Memphis, I think Memphis, if they stay healthy, their experience of playing together, I think they're very well coached. Zach Edey is hurt right now. I think when he comes back, he'll give them minutes that will help that team. But I mean, I don't. Maybe it's because of all the years I've covered the NBA and been in locker rooms and talked to the players and coaches.
Sure.
I don't really put too much into any one game, whether you win it or you lose it. I just don't. And did I think the Kings would win this game by 44 points tonight? No. Did I think they would win by 20? Yeah, I thought they were going to win by 20 before the game started.
Yeah. Well, also,
so what, like they did what they were supposed to do, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. And there's the jaw factor with Memphis as well. The thing about Houston, though, for me, is you look at what they did the second half of last season, Grant. They put together a big win streak, and they were hot, and now they've rolled that in, and not only rolled that in, they've gotten better. They've improved. So I'm with you. I can't put them there yet, but all of the elements are there. They're close.
Said Memphis just beat the Celtics. They did, but they caught them right. The night before they had played Milwaukee. So, I mean, it was a perfect time to play Boston. You still got to go and play them very well. And I was talking with Eric Hasseltine, and he told me the same thing. I texted him after the game. He's the radio announcer for Memphis. I said, man, great win. And he said, yeah, we were really lucky. We caught them at the perfect time. He said they had just played last night. He goes, we caught them at the perfect time.
Love that guy. Love his story, too. Incredible guy. Jeff from Texas. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, y'all. What's up?
Nothing much. Yeah, we got you.
It's a sad day here. It was a tough loss yesterday. Those damn Bulldogs got us both times this year. But anyways, let's keep it to Kings. I've noticed, and I'm not the smartest guy, but when all of our star players or our best players score between 15 and 23 points, like when it's evenly distributed, it's usually a good game.
Yep.
And it's always good to have a game like this, even though it was kind of like a scrimmage, like Grant said, kind of build confidence, especially for guys like Herter and the bench. And I had a question, and if it's not a good one, then I apologize. But when we signed Jay Crowder, the issue is finding him minutes. Is that because he gets upset when he's not playing? Is that going to be an issue down the road, or do you think it's a non-factor?
Hey, we're going to let you go. We don't have the best connection, but we appreciate your call. Thank you very much.
And we'll answer
Jay Crowder is what he is. Jay Crowder is a guy that is going to be at the end of your bench. I think we got a little bit too excited when he started against Minnesota in his first game and played well. But the reality is Jay Crowder is not one of the top 10 players on the Sacramento Kings. He's not one of the top 12 players probably. But if you need him, you know what you're going to get. He's not going to make mistakes. He's not going to kill you. So, like, I'm fine to have him on the team, but he is what he is, guys.
Yeah, well, so Jerry talked about that. He thought Jay would only be a good fit for this team if he had minutes for him. So, Jeff, more directly to your question, I think Jay, especially with that period of time at the start of the season and this summer, not getting picked up by a team, being out of the league, I've heard he's a little bit more understanding and accepting of what his role may be on an NBA team going forward. So little things, for instance, I know he's doing a ton with the two-way guys right now, specifically Isaac and also Isaiah, introducing them to referees, texting them on off days, showing them the routines. And when Jay was in Milwaukee, Jerry was saying different mindset. He thought he was still a guy that could contribute big, although he was coming off of injuries. And that was a much different situation, Grant, in Milwaukee. That was a team that had high expectations.
Yes.
Ended up flaming out.
Yeah. I think when you look at the big picture right now, I think the best thing about this Kings team right now is they're finally healthy for the most part, with the exception of Trey Lyles. And we haven't been able to say that really for the year. I mean, they're really healthy right now. And so this is going to be an interesting month because you put yourself in a hole by being 4 games under 500 or, climbing out of that. Well, you've won a couple of games. Now you're a game under 500 and you're playing a beat up team in New Orleans. They have bodies back. They got McCollum back. They've got Murray back.
Yep.
They've got Murphy playing, but they just lost their leading scorer, Brandon Ingram. He's going to be gone for at least a month. And you need to go down there and beat their socks off. All right. You need to go to New Orleans and make a statement against the team that owns you last year. But this is a completely different looking team. You know, you have a different point guard. You don't have Valanciunas. You're not going to have Zion Williamson on the floor. You're not going to have Brandon Ingram on the floor. I mean, there's no excuse not to go down there and beat them.
So they don't. So with BI out now, they don't have that guy that stretches the floor for them.
No,
Opening up
no.
those creases for CJ, opening up those creases for DeJounte. A lot of their big men, they're two-way
Yes.
guys from the G League. They're undersized. So you need to dominate them. It should be very similar to what you
Yes.
saw in San Antonio without
Yes.
Zach Collins.
And here's something else that it stood out to me last year. When I watched the Kings play Oklahoma City or New Orleans, they were superior in athleticism. Their athleticism really hurt Sacramento.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they don't have the other guard. Who are we thinking about that is still out? Who killed the Kings last year?
Trey Murphy.
No,
Herb
no.
Jones. Herb Jones.
No, it will come to me.
Alvarado?
Yes.
Jose Alvarado?
He had some big games against Sacramento.
He's their spark plug off the bench. He knows one speed, and it's 110 miles per hour.
Yes. But anyway, now that you got this game out of the way and you had a laugher, you need to go and beat this team because, first of all, you're going to play the Pelicans 3 times in February. And who knows? You know, by then, maybe they're completely healthy. You better get this win.
You got to get it for your mental psyche, too. Whether you say it or not, there's a little bit of a cloud there, especially when they knock you out of the play-in.
Yes.
I want to go back to something you said. You brought up Trey Lyles, and you said we're not going to have him anytime soon. So here's my question.
No, I said Brandon Ingram's not coming back anytime soon. I didn't say that about Trey Lyles.
No, but you said the Kings are pretty much healthy with the exception of Trey Lyles, which he's not going to be back anytime soon, per all of the reporting. With Isaac Jones stepping up, is this second unit a better second unit with a player like Isaac Jones rather than Trey Lyles? Because they're completely separate.
Yes. Based on the way Trey Lyles was playing before he was injured, I would say yes. What about you?
I'm with you. I mean, Isaac keeps taking those next steps, but he opens up the floor in terms of running in transition. Trey, he's to a corner. He's getting to a spot. And I know Mike Brown's big on not losing your job because of injury, but it's a different Kings lineup. You have to pay a different attention to Isaac than you do Trey Lyles.
Is Mount Zion playing? No, he has not played for quite a while. And from what I understand, he's not coming back for the Kings game. So,
yep.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that franchise has got some major issues. That's
what do you do if you're them? You kind of retool. You tried to get rid of BI. You bring in DeJounte. Do you hit the reset button right now?
No, you don't hit the reset button yet because you haven't seen your team this year. You had DeJounte Murray get hurt on opening night. He broke his. So you haven't even seen the team yet. So, no, I don't think you hit the reset button. Now, you may decide Zion Williamson cannot be part of our future going forward because of his injury history. But you and me and everyone else that watches, when Zion Williamson is on the floor, he is a difference maker. There aren't a lot of difference makers in the NBA. There are a handful. He's a difference maker when he is on the floor. You agree with that?
He makes men look like boys that are guarding him. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but if I'm the Pelicans, there's no reason to believe that he's going to be healthy for a prolonged stretch. So I would not be holding my breath on that. Hey, Bennett's, I hope you got there for their outstanding weekend brunch yesterday or today. I'll tell you, it's a tremendous place to meet for the holidays. Their happy hours daily, 2 to 6, sips and taste. Good prices on their 60 different types of wine available by the glass. It's all there for you. Their happy hour 2 to 6 every day. Great opportunity to get together with friends for the holidays. And don't forget prime seafood and steak. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com to make a reservation. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com.
That's my point. You kind of made my point for me. Zion came into this year, leaned out, changed his body, and we're in the same place. So that's not a reset if maybe you move on from him? That's just a reshuffle?
It's a great way to, and you can describe it however you want, but that team without Zion Williamson and as an organization knowing that even if he's healthy, he's not going to be on your floor, I think you can move forward in a better direction. But I don't know if I would call it a rebuild. I would just call it retooling, maybe a different look. Here's the other deal. If I'm a general manager, let's say Sacramento, I'm not trading for Zion Williamson.
No.
I'm not trading for a guy that has shown me that he has a history of not being able to stay on the floor. I'm not doing it.
And you know who's getting close to that list too is Giannis. Giannis has not played in the last 3 playoffs.
Yep. And then there's Joel Embiid. It's the same thing, right? You can't count on Joel Embiid.
Exactly right. So let me ask you this, because we had this discussion on the Kings court. If you traded De'Aaron Fox, is that a reset or a reshuffle with what you have right now on this roster?
Well, you would have to let me know what you would get back in return, because I would assume if you trade him, you're getting back a valuable asset or assets.
Correct.
Right?
So let's go both scenarios. You get a valuable player that's a top 20 guy in the NBA and a couple of bench guys. Reset or reshuffle?
What was the first part of that? You got who back in return?
You get a top 20 player in the NBA.
And you asked me, would it be a
reset or a reshuffle?
Well, they're pretty much the same thing, reset and reshuffle, right?
I guess you're right. You're playing on my words. Okay. Rebuild or reset? Rebuild or reset?
It's not a rebuild. It would not be a rebuild.
Right.
Not when you have Sabonis and Monk and Murray and, for at least through next year, DeRozan. I wouldn't call that a rebuild.
Yeah.
I would call it it's a different look.
Okay. Very good. And what if it was draft picks as opposed?
I don't want draft picks. Draft picks to me are like rolling the dice. No, I need a sure thing. I'm not trading a commodity for an unknown commodity with the hope that it goes through the roof. I'm not doing that. If I have a commodity in De'Aaron Fox, I need to get a commodity back.
I don't disagree with you. It depends on the length of the contract, though, doesn't it? Especially with the new CBA.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the only way you end up with a superstar in a small market is getting them through the draft. It's not going to happen any other way.
Well, I would say it's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
Sure.
So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, I was just curious because there's certain teams that are kind of in that position. Look at Milwaukee with Giannis. What are they going to do with him?
Oh, boy. Hey, folks, I want to tell you about tomorrow. You're going to be doing your show at 2 o'clock, the King's Court. I am going to be doing my show at 4:30, leading up to Monday Night Football. All right. So I'm looking forward to that leading up to Monday Night Football. That is tomorrow at 4:30. So jot that down. Don't forget Wednesday at 3 o'clock, Sean Salisbury. And then at 4 o'clock, we've got the Kings Roundtable with Ryan and Jerry Reynolds, which is one of my favorite hours of the week. I love doing that show.
That is a very fun show. You and Sean, by the way, are going to have no shortage of topics this week.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that very much. As a matter of fact, speaking of that, I'm going to get to my rant with Grant right now. And it is brought to you by EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. All right. Now, if you're looking at a new vehicle this Christmas, go see EDH Motors, Mercedes, Land Rover, Toyota, whatever brand you're looking for, EDH Motors can get it for you, and you never have to step foot into a typical franchise dealership. Saving you money and time, and you know what? You might even have some fun. Check out their inventory at edhmotors.com. They've got a little bit of everything from exotics, highline, classics, economy. And if they don't have what you're looking for, folks, they will get it for you. Go see their beautiful auto lounge. It's located in the town center in El Dorado Hills. Again, El Dorado Hills Motors, Automotive Reimagined. All right. So we talk about what happened with the college football playoffs. You're always going to have discrepancies. You're always going to have teams that feel like they got screwed. SMU lost at the buzzer to Clemson after a furious comeback. Clemson wins the ACC, an automatic bid. 12 teams, people are still complaining. 4 teams, people are complaining. If you are a fan of the Alabama Crimson Tide, you cannot get blown out by a bad Oklahoma team. You cannot lose at Vanderbilt. Even though Vandy was better this year, you cannot lose to Vanderbilt. Can't freaking do it. But the Oklahoma game is the one that keeps you out of the football playoff. So pipe down, all right? We know the SEC is a really good conference. We know it's superior to the ACC. We know it's superior to the Big 12. The bottom line is this is how the system works. There are automatic bids into the 12-team playoff. Alabama lost 3 games. 2 of the losses were absolutely awful, inexcusable, bad. So if you're a fan of the Alabama Crimson Tide, I don't want to hear about you. You got no one to blame but yourselves. Long, long gone is Nick Saban. 3 losses in Alabama is a catastrophe. It is a bad, bad season. But stop your bitching and complaining. You had a chance. Don't be losing to Oklahoma, a bad football team where you're not even competitive. All right? No more complaints. Zip it. And that's my rant for tonight.
Hey, Alabama. Did you see their coach come out, Grant, today and say, oh, we're going to look at how we schedule now?
It was the athletic director.
Or the athletic director. Thank you. Get out of here. So, okay, quick follow-up question. Is it better or worse for ratings that SMU is in?
It will be really good for ratings if they win their first game, because then people will get behind the underdog.
I think the lure of seeing Alabama lose is gone because Saban's gone. Wasn't it just as much about Saban as it was Alabama?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The mystique of Nick Saban, and, his record did speak for itself.
Sure.
I mean, he did an incredible job there. But, I was at the Alabama game back in September, and maybe the crowd was still crazy and everything, but there was a different feel walking around, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just was. It was like, it was just different. And, I mean, can you imagine trying to have to replace Nick Saban?
It's nearly impossible.
Right. It is nearly impossible. It's probably impossible.
Caleb DeBow, he went, and correct me if I'm wrong, he was Boise to Washington to Alabama.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a big jump. That's a massive jump.
It was like when Urban Meyer went from Bowling Green to Utah to Florida to Ohio State. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's a great point. Cody, I'm with you. I think they might be able to make a little noise.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right. So the Kings win in a laugher. We appreciate everybody being with us. You're going to be on at 2:00 tomorrow. I'll be on at 4:30.
Yep. We got it peppered up until we've got you all week until the Kings play again.
Yeah.
So make
sure
you're here.
Have a great night. Keep that beam lit, everyone. It will be lit for a couple of days. Kings have a nice break coming up. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.